Hi everybody, this is Adrienne. Today I'm going to be making beef with broccoli and rice. And first step of this recipe is we need to marinate the meat. So what I'm doing now is preparing the marinade. So I have some teriyaki sauce here, and I've cut up some green onions into the sauce. And I'm just going to put a little bit of garlic in there. And we're just going to let this set for a couple of hours in the refrigerator with the meat so that it can help tenderize the meat. The saltiness of the teriyaki sauce will help to break down some of the meat, the protein and the muscles that the meat has, and hopefully it'll be tender. So we'll get some cloves of garlic peeled. About 4 cloves of garlic. It doesn't matter. If you want to put more, you can. If you want to put less, you can. Okay. Alright, we'll get this garlic into our mini chopper. Our best kitchen tool friend. And we'll just add this in to our marinade. And then I'm also going to add some ginger. Now I have crystallized ginger, and it's just pieces of ginger with sugar on it. And I have that left over from a Thanksgiving recipe. So if you just want to use regular ginger, that's fine. If you don't want to use ginger, you don't have to. But I'm kind of pulling some of the ingredients that I already had in my pantry to make this. I had the green onions, had the teriyaki sauce, garlic. So a little bit of that in there. And then we're going to also add a couple tablespoons of sugar, about 3 or 4 tablespoons of sugar. And we'll get this mixed up. Alrighty, and I got beef, and the type of cut I got is stew meat. And the stew meat, they already have the beef cubed up for you, and it's just so much easier to get it like this than to cut it up yourself. You can, if you want to buy some steaks or something and cut them up yourself, you can, but this is just so much easier. So we'll just open this up. And get this into our container. And then we'll just pour the marinade on top of this and let it sit in the fridge. And we want to put it in there at least 2 hours to give it some good time to do some work. Now all we have to do is pour our marinade on top. Give it another good stir. And just pour that over top of the beef. If you want to use chicken or shrimp with this, you can. Alright, we'll make sure every piece is covered. Make sure none of the pieces are kind of sticking together. All right, so we'll let this marinate at least 2 hours. If you want to come in an hour or so or 2 hours and mix it around to make sure all the pieces are evenly coated, you can do that. And we'll just pop this in the refrigerator. Okay, we'll check back on that in 2 hours. Hi everyone, we are back. Today we're making beef and broccoli. And earlier we made our marinade to let our beef marinate for a couple of hours. So hopefully it's been at least 2 hours. It's been at least 4 hours for me. I let it marinate a little bit longer. So now we'll get started with the rest of the dinner, the broccoli and the rice. Okay, first we're gonna get the rice going. And you can just follow the directions on the rice package. Just boil the water. Add a little butter and then the rice, and it's a 2-to-1 ratio, so I actually cut that in half because for 2 people we only need 1 cup of water or broth, and I do half a cup of rice. So I have my water boiling here. I didn't want to put any salt in this rice like it says on the package because we do have the salt coming from the teriyaki sauce. If you want to add salt to your rice, you can. But I try to cut back on salt whenever I can. So I'm going to let that come back up to a boil, and then I will cover that. And we're going to let that cook for half an hour exact. Okay, while we're waiting for that to come back up to the boil, I have taken my beef out of the refrigerator and I just set it on the counter, and I just want to take some of the chill off of it because when it's coming from the extreme cold and you put it into an extremely hot pan right away, you can shock the meat and it will tighten up and be tough. So put it out on the counter for a couple minutes while we're getting our vegetables ready, and I'm just going to give it another mix around. And it looks good. As you can see, the marinade has browned the beef a little bit, so that's how I know it's soaking in. Alright, so we'll get our rice covered. And we will drop it down to the lowest setting you have on your stove. Alright, so now we're going to work on our vegetables. And the vegetables we're using today are broccoli. And I had some leftover water chestnuts, I'm going to put those in, and I had some mushrooms left over, so I'm going to put those in too. If you have green beans or carrots or something like that you want to add in, that would be good too. Okay. So I actually have a little bit of fresh broccoli, but I also have some frozen broccoli too. So I'm going to get this washed up. And then get it cut. Now I wanted to do the fresh broccoli because I wanted to have the broccoli have a little bit of crunch even after cooking it, and then I wanted the long big pieces. So we're going to cut these into pieces, and I'm just going to cut the very end of the stem off. I still want it to be kind of long. And just any way you can cut through this. Doesn't have to be exactly in between the stalks. So these will remain nice and crunchy, even though they will be fully cooked. They'll still give a little crunch. And I also have my mushrooms, and those have already been cut up for me, so I don't have to worry about cutting those up. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's get our pan for our vegetables started. We're gonna put some extra virgin olive oil. And since I'm putting broccoli and mushrooms in here, when they are cooking, they don't give off a lot of liquid or moisture at first, so they're pretty dry. So you want to make sure you have enough extra virgin olive oil. So I'm going to cook that and let the oil come up to temperature, and I have it on medium-high heat. And I'm also going to get my frozen broccoli cut. If you want to use all frozen or all fresh, you can. I bought a little head of broccoli because I knew I wasn't going to quite have enough of the frozen broccoli. So get that ready. And then we'll get some mushrooms. So nice when they've already been cut up. Okay, that's good on that. Okay, I'm going to dump these in my pan before it gets too hot. And here it's sizzling. Okay, and I'm going to give those a head start over my frozen broccoli pieces. I'm just going to mix these around, make sure they get coated evenly with the extra virgin olive oil. And I'm not going to season these because we are going to be putting the teriyaki sauce on them, and that has plenty of salt and seasoning in it. So we don't want to go overboard with the seasoning. All right, once those get coated, I am going to cover them up so that steam can collect in here, and so they'll be getting cooked two ways, from the heat from the bottom and then also the steam that's circulating in the pan. So we'll let those cook for a couple minutes. We'll let our rice go for a couple minutes more, and when we come back we'll add in our frozen broccoli cuts and our water chestnuts, and then we're going to add in the beef at the very last couple minutes of cooking. We don't want to cook it too long because it'll come out tough and chewy. So the best kind of beef is medium to medium well, if you can stand that. Some people kind of get freaked out if there's a little pink on their meat, but really the best is medium to medium well. So we will cook that the last couple of minutes, and when we come back we'll add all our stuff in, and then we're almost done. Okay, we are back, and we've let our broccoli, our fresh broccoli and our fresh mushrooms cook a little bit, and now I'm just adding the big pieces from my frozen broccoli. Okay, that's good. And then I'm going to add a couple of water chestnuts. Come on out. All right. So we'll let these cook for just a minute or two. And then we're gonna remove these vegetables and put just the meat in. Let that cook for just a couple minutes. Rice has about 10 minutes left, so we're doing good on time. Okay. Now I'm going to take the vegetables out because I'm going to put the meat in to cook by itself. And our meat's been sitting out on the counter for about 15 minutes, just so that it's not at refrigerator temperature and it's getting closer to room temperature. However, we do not want to let the meat get completely warm. We just want to make sure it's not freezing cold. One last piece. Okay. Alright, now I have a slotted spoon because right now I don't want to add all the sauce in. I just want to add the meat in by itself. So we are on medium-high heat for the meat. And put a little more extra virgin olive oil in, just a little, because it has some in there and the meat has some fat that it will give off when we cook it. Okay, so this is going to sizzle. So I'm going to cook this pretty quickly. Just a couple minutes by itself, and then we'll add the vegetables and the sauce in with it. Okay, once you make sure you get all the pieces of meat out. And you see it's starting to brown. You can smell the teriyaki and the garlic. It smells really good. We're not going to cook it all the way through because we're going to add the vegetables back in and cook it with the vegetables, but we just want to give it a head start by itself. Alrighty. Like I said before, if you don't want to purchase this stew meat, you can always, if you have like some steaks or something in the freezer, you can always just take those out and cut those into strips or cubes. But this is just more convenient. Okay. So we let the meat brown a little bit by itself. We're not cooking it all the way through. And we are going to add the vegetables back in and the sauce. And then we'll cover it up again and let it steam. Okay. And vegetables back in. Mix that around. And we're going to end up covering this up too, so don't worry if you still see a little bit of red. I just like to fish around and make sure all the pieces get an opportunity to be close to the bottom of the pan to cook. Okay. Now I'm going to add the sauce in. And we have to fully cook this sauce because it has the raw meat in it. So you can't like cook this and be done with it and then add this later. This has to be cooked in with everything. Alrighty. Now I'm switching spatulas because the other one I was using with the raw meat. And now that my meat is cooking and is almost done, I want to get a new spatula. So it's going to be good. Okay, I'm going to cover this up for a couple of minutes and let it build up some steam and heat in the pot. Alright, our rice should be done in about 4 minutes. Looking good. Has to be precise. Gotta get my plate ready. Okay. Stir it up a bit. All the meat should almost be cooked. If you see some pieces with a little bit of red, you can turn that towards the bottom of the pan. And like I said, the best way to not get beef that's super tough is to cook it to a medium or a medium well, if you're kind of scared of medium. But if you kill it and cook it all the way to well done, it's going to be very tough. I used to not like steak because I always ordered it well done. That's just the way I was used to doing it when I was younger. And then I started moving up the temperature ladder to medium well, then to medium rare, and now I get rare steak, and it's so good. It doesn't look appetizing to some people, but it really is good. So we're gonna pour this on top of our rice, which our rice should be just about done. Okay, I'm gonna cut our rice off and okay, perfect. And we'll just take that off the heat. And we'll just fluff it up. And this is just the perfect amount of rice for 2 people. If you need more, you can just follow the package directions. Okay, let's start making our plate. I'm just going to put a bed of rice at the bottom. And then we'll just spoon our beef on top. So this looks good. I still have a little bit of pink on my meat, but if you want to go further, you can. But we'll just scoop right on top. Get some of this juice. All right, let's taste this. Perfect. Alrighty. We'll see you next time.